Hello everyone. Today we are going to do a chapter from Hornbill. The first chapter, The Portrait of a Lady. The author is Khushwant Singh. The author was born in 1915 and he died in 2014 at a ripe age of 99. He wrote mainly about secularism, humor and poetry. This particular story is a pen portrait of his grandmother and how his personality was affected by his relationship with his grandmother. He describes the daily activities and his relationship with his grandmother through his appearance. The summary can be divided into 8 parts for more comprehension. First, the appearance of the grandmother. To the author, the grandmother is always an old lady who is only his grandma, nothing else, nobody else. He cannot imagine that the grandmother was once a young lady who was pretty. To her, she is a short, pretty, fat lady with silver hair. He finds her pretty, but not in a conventional sense of way. The second part of the story is the initial years of togetherness in their village. The author's parents had left to make a life in the city and he was left with the grandma. She took total care of him. She gave him breakfast. She made him ready for the school. She even accompanied him to the school where she sat in the Gurdwara and he studied in the school. And on their way back, they together fed the dogs with stale chapatis of the last day. So it shows that she had a lot of compassion for the dog and a lot of love for the author. Their life took a turning point when they went to the city. The parents were well settled, so they invited the grandmother along with the child to stay in the city. They shared the same room but saw less of each other because now the author went to an English school and the grandmother had no contribution to his studies. She also didn't like that he was being taught music in the school because she didn't think that music was for gentlefolk. But she didn't say anything. Her objection or her withdrawal was conspicuous only in his silence. Then she had lost the dogs, her dear friends in the city, because there were no dogs in the city. She took to feeding sparrows. She fed them breadcrumbs and hundreds of sparrows alighted around her. Some perched on her shoulders, some even on her head. That was the best time. All the rest of the time, she was silently moving her rosary between her fingers and praying. Then the author decided to leave for higher studies abroad, and he expected a great show of emotion by the grandma, but there was no such show. The only show of emotion was a silent kiss on his forehead, and that was probably the last physical contact that he had with his grandma. When he came back, he expected her to be changed, but she was not at all changed. She was the same lady, praying in spotless white, doing nothing else but silently praying and moving around the house. The only change of routine that she had that day was a song and dance meeting where she invited lots of neighborhood ladies and beat the drum for a long time. Next day, she was sick. She fell sick and she had a mild fever that the doctor said would be cured. But somehow deep down she knew that it was near her end and she was repenting that she had spent the last evening without praying. So she told everyone that she wanted to pray and to be left alone. And silently in prayer she died. The next day, when they were taking her body away for the funeral, hundreds of sparrows alighted and were silent. They didn't even feed on the breadcrumbs that the author's mother threw to them. It was a silent tribute by the sparrows to the great lady. This story is an autobiographical account of the author's grandma. It shows us the importance of relationships in our growth and how necessary such relationships are in our life to become better individuals.